Hi, this is The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm Claire Barton and you're in the right place at the right time. If you're starting to feel like some of your perfectionism is really getting in the way of you moving forward, getting started or finishing anything, this is absolutely the right show for you. This is rehab for your perfectionism, baby, so grab yourself a glass of wine or a cuppa and let's get stuck into it. I have got the amazing and gorgeous and super talented Emma Weise from Fresh Sage with me today. Hi, Emma.
Hello, Claire. How are you?
I'm so great. Thank you. How are you going?
Very good.
Excellent.
Enjoying the early morning touch base with you, I must say.
Excellent. Thank you.
What a great way to start the day. Chat about being a recovering perfectionist.
Absolutely. And so for everyone who's listening at home, Emma is in South Africa and I'm in Australia. So hopefully we have a fairly clear line and everything, but there may be some bits and pieces that drop in and out. And dear Emma has gotten up very early and gotten absolutely gorgeous for us on the show. It's the end of the day here. It's the beginning of the day there. So what a fun way to start and end our days.
You got to love it.
Now, Emma,
I just love how we're over the world and able to connect at random
so cool.
days. Fabulous.
Super cool. Very super cool. So Emma is how do I articulate what you do? You're a brand strategist, branding guru, all things beautifying and getting your message aligned and gorgeous with your brand and what you do and your purpose. Very articulate.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yes, we'll write that down. You can put that in there in your signature of your emails, okay? Yeah. Very articulate. All right. Will you tell us what you do, Em?
Sure. Well, I think the easiest way to describe what I do is that let me find my words and find my tongue. There we go. I help women create brand experiences. And I think, sometimes I'm working with brand elements and then sometimes I'm digging deep into the soul of their brand and helping them pull that out and make it visual. So I think that's, if I had to put it in a really tight nutshell, that's how I would describe it.
I love it. So the first time that I ever came across you was pretty much at the very beginning of my business journey. And I participated in your, I think it was 5 or 7 day challenge. And it was really about kind of teasing out your message and your personality. And I really loved how you delivered everything. And, everything was so schmick and so beautiful and shiny and all of that sort of thing. So that was a really, really awesome and definitely helped me, I guess, sort of start to create my brand, which is very different a year on now, but it was awesome at the time. And I actually won one of the challenges. I think it was a 7-day challenge and you had a couple of prizes and I won one of them and I got some beautiful prints made by Emma, which are still hanging on my pin board above my desk because I just love them so much.
Awesome.
So it was just gorgeous. So I really loved, as everyone knows who's listened to this show, I've really I've approached people in 2 ways to come on the show, which is I've either written down a topic I really want to talk about and then I've just let the universe bring that person to me of who I need to talk to, or I've written down the person's name and I wrote your name because I just love hanging out with you. I love spending time chatting with you. And we're just going to have a bit of a chat about branding and that sort of process and everything that happens in your world basically today. So I'm super excited to have you.
Oh, I'm super excited for this, I must say. And it's been so amazing watching your brand evolve it's been a year now, hasn't it, Claire?
Yes, it sure has. Yep.
And watching you unpack all the little elements of the brand and the whole experience. And I think that's one thing a lot of people don't understand is that when you're creating a brand, it's not just a logo. And I think that's the one thing we started speaking about initially. And I think branding is a word that a lot of people use, but they don't necessarily understand the intricacies of what it is. Just like going to a coffee shop, you not necessarily just attracted to a coffee shop by the logo on the door.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more that goes in building that whole brand experience, from the decor to how they welcome you in the door to the kind of that they actually make and serve. And I think that's exactly, it's been so interesting watching your brand evolve and watch you create that entire experience for your clients.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think I had a similar conversation with someone recently about creating your brand as a journey, and it really is for not only for yourself but for your clients obviously as well. And there's so many little touch points, whether it's passive and it's just things that they're seeing that you're putting in the world from on social media or on Facebook and Instagram and that sort of thing, or if it's more like your blogs and your website and things that are very, centric to you and your business, to the next level of onboarding if people are interested in working with you or start working with you, and then that whole process of working with you, and then everything that happens after that. Like, there's so many bits and pieces that come into that creates your brand. Like you said, it's not just which colors and fonts and logos you use.
And creating... Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So you're right. All the bits and pieces need to come together to underpin your core message and your core purpose, I think. And that's for me what's so important in a brand, is that that's linked back to your values. Because, I mean, it's easy to create a pretty brand and you can cookie cutter and create something very lovely. But if your brand isn't aligned to who you are, and I think that's what you were initially chatting about in the challenge that you did way back then, that your brand it needs to be a representation of who you are. Otherwise, you're going to be almost putting on a false facade that isn't actually real.
So
and
true.
I think,
yeah.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I had a very similar, again, another conversation about the same sort of thing, that consistency and making sure that everything that you put out is consistently aligned with who you are is really the only way. Like, if you try and do something that's not you, or if you're trying to do that sort of cookie cutter, it's like almost like keeping up a lie that you can't fulfill. You'll fall over, and then it just completely breaks that know, like, and trust thing. But having said that, it's also a process to get to that point where you're okay with being like that, because I think a lot of us have probably come from jobs or corporate roles and that sort of thing, where it's very much big company to another big company, and this is the way that we all have to look. And you've got to come across completely flawless. It's not okay to make mistakes. It's not okay to be trying things out. You have to have it all sorted before you go to market and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And completely by accident, when we start our businesses, that's what
completely.
Yeah. So now that you kind of go through that process and go,
I had the same.
I tried that, and it's not what I'm doing. It's not who I am. I'm so bored with this sort of thing. You've got to get back to doing your own thing and being okay with that not being right for some people as well.
Absolutely, Claire. I think when I think about my journey, and you said that my brand was all shiny and pretty when you saw it. Well, it's been through it. When I started out, I also came from the corporate space. And you're right. You think that you have to create this facade, and you have to do it a certain way, and this is the only way that business gets done, because that's how you've learned. That's what you've grown up experiencing and understanding. But when you suddenly trying these things and it just doesn't feel right, and you're not feeling authentic, there's two things that can happen. Either you create something that you can't live up to, which is what you were talking about, where you're creating this perfect brand that doesn't feel aligned to you and you're feeling a bit like fake. Or you're creating something that, the first thing you were talking about is creating a brand that feels that you can't live up to, and you ruin the know, like, and trust, right? But there's also one where you create something that you can live up to. It just doesn't feel aligned to you. You're feeling fake, and you're feeling like something's a bit off. And that's kind of what I did initially. Is I created a beautiful brand when I left corporate in the employer branding space, but it wasn't aligned to me. And as I started shifting and finding what I really wanted to do, and as you said, it's such an organic process. And you know what, like, the biggest thing that it took, and I think a lot of people may, if you're in that space where you are, you've built a brand that doesn't feel authentic, it takes a ton of courage to actually make that shift. And you think, oh my gosh, the world is probably going to crumble if I make this change, right? I don't know if you had the same thing.
Yep.
But I had a complete perception of, like, everything is going to go pear-shaped if I change. I need to stick on the course I've set, because, you can't have failure. But actually, when you make that shift and you take the change, you start flying because you're doing what you love.
Totally.
And I don't know if you experience the same thing in your brand.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think I've had a couple of sessions with people recently on either or gone to workshops about branding and customer journey and what's the other one? There's a couple of other things like that. And I've been like, oh, I wish I had you when I started my business. And then I thought retrospectively, it would have been completely useless if I had you at the start of my business, because where I thought I was going to go a year ago and where I am now, if I had done that sort of stuff a year ago, I would either still be doing it and it would be so misaligned because I would feel guilty and feel like I was trapped and kind of pigeonholed into that thing because I'd already set up systems and I'd already said the words and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And or I would have felt like I had failed because I wasn't doing exactly what I said I was going to do a year ago. And this is really funny water for me because I am I'm a planner. That's my jam. That's my total. That's my space, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a huge amount to be said for not over planning things, because when you're in a business like this, especially when you're kind of just starting out, like the first year is so there's so up and down, and there's so much experimentation that absolutely has to happen if you want to actually get to the other side of it. That it really is just about trying things out and being okay and giving yourself permission to sort of try those things out. So I think in terms of your brand, you also don't have to, like, it's great to know it and it's great to stop and reflect and plan and understand where you're at now and where you want to be, but that it's kind of on that 80-20 rule. So you've still got to be open to new opportunities. And if something, is pulling you or pushing you energetically, that you're also okay to go along with that. And you don't have to just be stuck doing that thing you said you were going to do because you said you'd do it a year ago, and that's the end of the story.
And now you've gone and spent a lot of money on your brand, and now you have to follow through with this thing that you've created, right?
That's it, exactly. But I think, like you said, we're in a lot of the same sort of circles with online businesses and a lot of women who are in online business, and everyone sort of kind of gets that we're trying things out, and we're I've done some offers where I've gone, oh, I do this for all my clients. Maybe I'll make a whole new service offering out of that. And I've put an offer out there and it's gone crazy. And then I've gotten halfway through it and gone, oh, I do not want to be doing this. This is not right. It was great for a bit of a money injection or whatever, but God, I'm not doing this again. I'm definitely not putting that out into the world again. But if I had put those things on my website, on my, flashy website, which I still do myself, then I would be stuck into doing that because I would feel like, I've spent all this money and time marketing that, and it's not
creating that sales page.
Yeah. So I totally think that brand is an evolving thing, and that's totally cool as well. But it's capturing some of those things that are you and the things that you bring to your business, and people are on varying levels about how much of them is their business. And some people say I am my business, and some people say I'm completely not my business. But there's it's sort of a sliding scale. You're somewhere on that scale, with whatever you do. And that's a comfort level thing and a visibility thing as well, I suppose.
Absolutely. And I think that the more you inject a bit of personality and you into your brand, the more it helps you sit apart. Or if you're not going to inject yourself into your brand, then there needs to be something specific about your brand that's going to set it apart as its own personality in a sense. But I think more and more the shift is moving from creating this big conglomerate and major corporation to actually running something that's unique and individual and that sets you apart. So I'm seeing that trend happening in business. But in terms of creating a brand when you start out, I often see a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of creating a full-blown brand when they start out, and you don't need it. So many people say to me, do you need a logo when you're starting out? And I don't think you do. And I know as a branding person that seems like, oh my gosh, Emma, how can you say that?
Sacrilege.
That just seems, contradictory. But I think that you need to, as you were saying, you need to test out what works. You need to test out the kinds of clients you like. You need to test out those offers and see, is this the kind of offer that I actually want to put out into the world? And iron out all those things until you get to that point where you're like, this is what I want to do. And this is who I want to target. And I understand what makes me awesome in this process. And let's let's do it. Now I'm ready for the up level. And then that's when you should brand. And that's when you create entire experience. And there are different schools of thought about it. And some people say, but, once you get to that point, you've created all of these things that you've got to shift and change. And absolutely you have and you will. But that's part of business, right? You evolve your products. You don't stick with the typewriter. You move into the iPad era.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's going to take tweaking, and it's going to take effort, and it's going to take time, but it's worth it, because then you've, for me, it's instead of rebranding 5 times, rather get some foundational things right. So, like, my advice to clients is to either just knuckle down on your colors and a font or two, and just sort of create a mini brand and start getting that bedded. And then in time, you shift it and evolve it and tweak it.
Yeah.
So I think that. And the reason I wanted to say that here is because I know that when you're in that space of wanting to do it right the first time, and you are the perfectionist because you're listening to this podcast, because more than likely you're in that space, it's the wanting to get it done right the first time is going to really hold you back. And you're either going to invest too much money, or you're going to more than likely invest way too much time trying to get that nailed down.
Yep.
Instead of focusing on building your business. And, when it comes to building a business, money is your lifeblood, and you need to build clients first. So get that done. And then you can go ahead and once you've got the clients in, hire the right person to do the brand for you.
Yeah, totally agree.
That's my theory.
I totally agree. And I think, it was very new to me a couple of years ago, when I did Tash Corbin's Takeoff course, that I learned that you didn't have to spend money to start a business. Because I was always thinking, I've got to save up $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 or, whatever, because I have to have the $5,000 website, and I'll have to have a business coach, and I'll have to have this, and I'll have to have that. And I had this whole, thing mapped out that, no one will take me seriously if I don't have all of those things. And, then I started, I had a friend do, in fact, I think to start with, I did my own logo on like Canva or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I eventually had a friend do my logo, and that was pretty much it. And I had that in a couple of places. I had a Facebook page, and I just started getting into Facebook groups and that sort of thing. And I was my brand, right? And that was fine. And I started making some good money from that. And like, I had my little website eventually and all that sort of thing. But there are so many women who have amazing businesses, and they're making great money, and they've got great connections, and they've got awesome reputations, and they don't have a website, and they don't have a logo, and they don't have colors, but what their message is, who they are, what they do, because they're so good at talking about their brand and doing branding in completely other ways. And they haven't been completely pigeonholed into anything, because they've been totally flexible and movable with whatever was happening in the industry or in their business and that sort of thing. So I think that's awesome. And I think, like you said, that point of and this is really a big place, a big reason that the Recovering Perfectionist came about was because I do often see that, and I was exactly the same person, where I was like, oh no, I can't do that until I've done this, and I can't do that until I've done this, which and I've heard someone says there's a theory that 99% of perfectionism is actually more like avoidance, right? We're avoiding the next step. So we're trying to protect our website or our branding or something, because the next step is talking to people about what we do and trying to take their money, or, trying to make sales sort of thing. And that feels really uncomfortable for some people. Or we're trying to perfect the website, and the next thing would be to tell people about the website so they can go on to see it, and you're avoiding the embarrassment if something's wrong, or if there's a typo or something ridiculous like that, when actually it's probably completely fine the way it is, sort of thing. But I just hate the idea that people have got these amazing ideas or these amazing things to give to the world, and the world doesn't get to have them because you're being so pedantic about the color on your freaking website. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just it just drives me crazy. It's just a waste, and it drives me crazy. So I totally hear you say that.
As you were talking about that, there's a quote on my wall over here. And it's something that I absolutely adore. And of course, my throat has now gotten frog in it. But it's our deepest fear. Have you heard that Marianne Williamson quote?
Possibly.
It says, our deepest fear is not that... Okay, well, let me read it to you. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant or just? Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing frightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We're born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us. It's not in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Don't you just love that?
I do. I so love that. And I think it's quite true that it's our light, not our darkness, that is scary, because I guess, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I know Australian, it's a very much a cultural thing, this tall poppy syndrome, that, you don't want to be seen to be, you're too big for your boots, or, that you're doing things outside of the norm. So it can be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes to do that. But, I just think sometimes, like, I'm not meant to sit around and, pay bills and, just do something ordinary. And I totally agree with that. And it is scary. It's totally the scary thing, because it's unusual, it's less usual and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that whole, the last bit about, giving, when you do it, you unconsciously give other people permission to do it as well. I think that's a really important thing, and it's definitely a big, definitely a big motivator for me with my kids. Like, I really want to show them that anything's possible, and they can do whatever they want, and they don't have to just go to school, go to uni, get a job, retire and die. That's not how it has to be done. So I'm trying to lead by example.
There are other options.
There are other options. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
and I love that you're saying, when you were talking about how, and of course this has now gone blank, but you were talking about how women have something incredible to offer, and there's something that they were born to do, but they get stuck in this sort of, perfectionist, I can't do it because something, they come up with all these sort of reasons as to why they can't put themselves out there, colors of website being one of them. And I found that, the reason why I do what I do is, yes, I love making things pretty. I mean, I can't deny that, but there's a bigger reason. And that's because I think that every woman has something unique and awesome about them. And oftentimes they just don't have the confidence to go and put that awesome thing out into the world. And so I find that when I created a brand that helped me feel confident, it just helped me show up in the world as a better human being. And I love that I get to do that for my clients too. So, creating almost the brand, I don't want to say like a brand is something you can hide behind, because it's not, the brand is something that you hide behind, but it's a case of it's like putting on a really nice jacket.
That's right.
It just makes you feel good.
Yeah, totally agree.
And if it fits right,
if it fits right, it feels even better. If it doesn't, it's going to feel crap. Yeah, even better. The next thing I think that I did with you after that challenge was I actually had a brand clarity session, I think it was called, and we came up with like the 3 words that were important to me, which were almost, I guess, like my values, my top 3 values. And then we came up with 3 words that I wanted my clients to feel. And then you sent me, client journey goddess. I got a beautiful, unexpected PDF with my photo on it and the ingredients and the method, all the things that I needed to do, some actions and all that sort of thing. It was just gorgeous. And one thing that I really loved about you was that you were so sharing about your stuff in that session, and everywhere as well on social media. You're very open about your process and some tips and tricks and, how to make things easy and aligned and beautiful and that sort of thing. And I know one of your things was that you wanted your clients to feel the Emma magic. And I was like, that is so freaking cool. And I know I do. Every time I speak with you or see you online, I totally feel the Emma magic. And I also really loved the permission. And I really felt like that sort of thing gave me permission to go, oh, yeah, I can do magic. Like, people want some of the Claire magic as well. And
absolutely,
it wasn't a real word. It wasn't like a thing that I could, show someone how to do a thing, but it was just not having to be so cookie cutter about how I talked about myself, my brand, the stuff I do. Like someone asked me today, what's your title or what do you do? And I was like, well, where do I start? I'm a recovering perfectionist, a podcaster, a speaker, a time bender, an organizational guru. And I just kind of rattled off these things, and a cheerleader for your business. And I'm like, those things aren't job descriptions, but they're what I do. And that's what I want to describe myself as. So I'm giving myself permission to do it. Imagine.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely awesome. And what you do is magic. It's great. Can you imagine what the world would be like if you didn't bring your awesome sauce into the world? And it is that fabulous mix of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of us that we all have. So just, gosh, I've totally loved this conversation. It's exactly right. It's just about being you, being authentic. And it's scary. It is scary and it's hard, and you're going to make mistakes, and it's going to be, things that you have to apologize for and beg forgiveness. And that's totally okay as well. That's part of the process. It's called being human. We all do it. It's totally fine. And I think the more of us that can do that sort of thing and say,
hashtag being human.
Right. Exactly. Hashtag recovering perfectionist. Yeah. Get over it and just get started.
Love that. And you're right. It is going to evolve. I mean, my brand, now, as a branding person, you'd think, oh, Emma just did her branding once, boom, and then off she went, right? But no, my brand took 5 evolutions before I got it to where it is today.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm totally comfortable with that, because each of those evolutions meant that I have evolved as a person. It's meant that I've shifted my views on life. It's meant that I've broadened who I am as a human being. Yeah. And it's meant that I show up in the world in a different way. So, I think it's just, having that process, it's organic. So don't freak out if you don't get it right the first time. It's fine. Absolutely fine. Just do it.
Exactly. And
start somewhere.
Yeah, start somewhere. Just start. Just do the first thing. Just the first little tiny wee step. It doesn't have to. And I think the other part of that is, and like I said, I'm a business planner. That's my job. That's what I do, and that's what I love. But I also think that we can plan our business so overplanned, which leaves no room for flexibility and movement and opportunities and that sort of thing. That, like you said, it's a process. It's going to continue. If we look at your brand in 5 years from today, it will probably look a bit different to how it does now, if not completely different. And that's cool too. Like, we're not going to sit.
Well, I'm hoping it kind of stays the same, because I kind of like what I'm doing right now.
Okay, yours will be the same. Yes. Different aspects.
There'll be a better version, right?
Different versions and that sort of thing. And it's totally okay. And if, even if you set yourself a thing and you get to the point, you go, right, this is me, this is it, I'm done. You don't have to feel guilty if in a year's time you go, actually, I want to do something different. That's totally okay as well. Like, I think I end every episode with going, whatever you're doing, it's totally okay. Whatever happens, it's totally okay. I'm pretty sure that's
absolutely
what you get to in every conversation. Everything is cool. Just start. Just do.
Just do it. That's the underlying message. Just get it done.
Just do it. Get started.
I mean, Claire, you're talking about it's totally okay. And the one thing that really jumps out at me is, like, if you take my whole Facebook group process, right? Talk about shifting things completely.
Yes.
I mean, I had the free group. And then I decided, oh, wait, hold on, I think I need to convert this free group into a paid mastermind. So I pretty much shut down the free group. Oh my gosh, did I do some things there? So, like, I learned some valuable lessons about not tagging, a couple of 100 people in a post. And Facebook wanting to call me a sleazy, like, spammer.
That's right.
And suddenly they're targeting me every time I tag someone. You learn lessons. You got to try.
Thank you for taking that one for the team. And telling us all not to do the same thing.
Pleasure. So good. Helped.
Oh no.
Absolutely. And then closing the mastermind and going back to a free group. So I mean, just right there, that is you can shift, you can change. You are the CEO of your own business, and it's okay.
Totally.
It's absolutely okay.
Absolutely. And own it, and be okay with having a mistake. I'm loving it at the moment, and sneak preview. In fact, by the time this is published, it might already be live. We're going to have an I effed up 5-day challenge in my group. And I'm going to challenge people to actually either talk about something that they've effed up or go out and purposely try and F something up a little bit and just have a bit of fun with it and get okay with getting comfortable with making mistakes and be totally cool with it. And not just say you're cool with it, but actually be totally cool with it. So there you go.
There you go. Love that. Failing forward.
Failing forward. I like that. Failing forward. Yeah, that's cool too. Awesome, Emma. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat. I love where this has gone, and I'm sure everyone will be wanting to meet you and talk to you and follow you. So how can people get in touch if they want to lovingly stalk you in social media land?
Well, they can lovingly stalk me in my Facebook group, and they can actually connect with me there.
Excellent. Which is called?
Well, so as a recovering perfectionist, I'm not going to tell you what it's called because it's probably going to change. But we'll have a link below, I'm sure.
She's a fast learner. I like this one.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. So all of that will be in there.
No, it's currently, And then otherwise they can have a look on my blog. There's a whole lot of meaty articles there. And that's freshsage.co.za. And then /blog. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's,
amazing. So all of those
are probably the best 2 places to find me, right, Claire?
Okay.
I mean, you lovingly stalk me. You tell me.
They are. Yes, I definitely stalk you there. I love your Facebook page too. That's always quite juicy and lovely. And, I bump into you around the traps everywhere else as well. So,
yeah. And Instagram.
And Instagram. Oh, yes. Your Instagram page to die for.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll have some links below.
There will definitely be some links in the show notes. So jump in there if you want to check that out. Awesome chatting with you as always. Thank you so much, Emma. And I'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Liz.
See you.
Bye.